if the majority of the people were living their purpose, what would the world look like? I think there would be much more light. It's not always that it's easy, but there would be much more light. Because also when we're living our purpose, we get huge challenges. And shadow shows up and things don't go perhaps as they are supposed to go or whatever. So it's not like it's all, ooh, easy flow.
Hi, my name is Lara Peña, and my purpose is to support the next generation of leaders, girls. And I am here today to introduce to you Annemarie van Hoover. And I interviewed her at the Wave in Ibiza, and we are going again to Europe. We're going to Portugal next, so I hope to see you there. Annemarie is a spiritual business strategist and a global system catalyst who helps leaders, visionaries, and communities shift from fear to love and co-create a world that works for all. As co-founder of the Hague Center and a member of the Evolutionary Leaders Circles, she guides complex multi-stakeholder meshwork projects across sectors and cultures, mentoring teams to unlock their potential and design meaningful, future-shaping solutions.
I contribute to the building of many conscious networks that are working on finding these new ways of collaborating, co-creating, coming together. And we experiment with a lot of new ways of coming together, or old ways, but yeah, usually actually ancient ways, I would say, in which we feel that we can be fully ourselves and do that. So, there's these series of events of One World with World Unity Week, Peace Week, and Lightening Our Way Together and Being Beloved Community. That's a cycle that's been going on till 2020. We've been doing that every year. I contribute to that. I contribute to many other world movements, like the Holomovement, by strategically connecting, by really weaving people in, by supporting the systems to the people to deeply listen to each other. We have different ways of inviting people into that kind of a space, but also to listen using tools like systemic constellation work or art of hosting or Holacracy. There are many ways of how we can do that, and a lot of multi-stakeholder collaboration, putting something in the purpose, some complex issue that nobody can do on their own, that they really need each other for. And so I'm often then the purpose holder, let's say, and then inviting them in to really, on the one hand, commit themselves to that purpose, and the other hand, find that part in their organization or in themselves, the more ego part, people often say. But if it's in service that purpose, and that can really shine, then you're closer to that purpose of yourself. So that's kind of like the space we invite people in to weave together, to work on these complex issues, and then not only, let's say, brainstorm after having connected, but then also, and how can we then manifest it? What are the next steps? How can we do that? And at a certain point, we often see that then a few really get it, take it forward, and then, we can let go. It will manifest on its own without us, so that we can be in service of other groups that are trying to find a way to collaborate, to get to know each other, to see how they could really support each other to work on that complex issue. And that can be all around the world. So that's kind of at the heart and the core of the work. And at the moment, the last few years, I'm also working very closely with Chief Lane and Grandmother Eshna to work on bridging continents, on serving the prophecy of the eagle, the condor, the Quetzal, and the hummingbird. From the perspective that if the indigenous people can really come back into their full purpose and be supported by the world to really manifest what they feel is their role to play in the world. That's in the Americas, 80 million people. Then we've really cracked some stuff around collaboration. And that can be a source of inspiration for many parts of the world. So yeah, we are seeing how we can already start to connect and bring the wisdom that comes out, and that's being more and more shared in a way that it can be also landing in the Western world, in Europe, how we can bring it there and connect and then weave it back. And I love that work. That's really on my edge. It's new work for me. So yeah, but it's all in essence coming back to the same ways of working. How can we deeply listen, and how can we take a first step and then listen again, and take a step and listen again. I like to say that my purpose is to co-create with all of nature a world that works for all. And that is in the visible, in the invisible, because there's so much that is here around us that we don't see or are not aware of. So that's why I keep it very open. And in that is co-creation. It's about coming together, doing things together, for that to deeply listen, to play together. And and to deeply understand, deeply listen, deeply understand.
And when do you think that was there a moment where this became clear for you, this purpose? And yeah, what was the road that led you to this conclusion?
I can remember certain moments where I really thought this is mine to do, let's say. And the earliest, I think, is when I was around 8. I was living in the Far East in Malaysia with my parents and family, and there was a civil war going on, and one of the children of our household was missing for 24 hours but got found again. But the presence of that civil war was quite close by, and I can still remember this feeling that I thought, this is just one big misunderstanding. If people would really listen to each other and speak more, this wouldn't be needed. It's not necessary to do this. We just need to understand and connect better. And so I can still remember that moment very clearly, that I had this kind of like, and then I just started to be even more motivated to put that into practice myself. And to see. So that's the deeper listening, getting to know each other, checking out, listening. The co-creation, I was always in that connecting, doing things together. And my parents also very much taught us that, when we came, we moved every 2-3 years. And when we came somewhere and you're kind of like, yeah, how does it work here? Because it was also very different cultures, Arab culture, Chinese, Malay, and Indian. They would say, go out to a sports event or whatever, a club or school, connect and do something, contribute, do something together, because that's the way how you find out. So there's always this, when I come somewhere, okay, here I am, how can I contribute? Because that's the way that I can connect. So I had to actually learn also to connect without doing something. But that really has been the foundational way of coming together, that we create something, an event or something nice, or it can be small, it can be big. So that's what I've always been doing in that sense. And I think in the last, let's say 10-15 years, I've given myself also permission to say with the invisible, because before that wouldn't, it would be more between humans, but I'm just sensing that I can get so much inspiration from nature, from things that are just coming from other realms. So that's why I'm sharing it like that. If we look at history, there was and has been, and in many places still is, something like there's a family lineage and you just follow that. If you're a family of gardeners, you stay a family of gardeners, you garden and you be a gardener, even if you might have other talents. So I think it's part of also human history, let's say, that we don't always get invited to individually follow our own purpose. That's, I presume, I don't know, I haven't done any research, but I can see how that used to be the way it went, and that in the period of time when we've become more individualistic and things like that have happened, that it's more normal, let's say, or invited in. And then of course we've always had in humanity these creative people, these people that have such a strong calling for their purpose that they've done it anyway, no matter what. And so there's something in where we're in between now. I was very privileged that I was, brought up in a way that I was taught to figure out what my talents were and put them to service. And that I didn't need to think if that could fit in this box or that box, because we changed all the time in context. So those boxes changed all the time. So that's what I took out of my upbringing anyway. And that's also what I've been doing in all my life, actually. What makes my heart sing? That's what I follow. That's what I do. I do have also a capacity to see something positive in many things. There's always something to learn that I can contribute to. So I have also in my life gone along with many things that I thought were the right things for me. And that with hindsight, of course, they taught me something, but at a certain point I had to stop because I had made it the right thing, instead of it really being what I should be doing on my path. But my body has kind of put me to a halt, and I figured that out. And so also in the Hague Center, in our team, it's always about what makes your heart sing. Follow that, listen to that, and bring that into form. When I was 30, I fell ill, and after 2 years of exploring and investigation, no real advancement in my status. I was told that was just it, and so I started to accept that, with help of some others, to accept that this was my state of being. And the more I accepted that, a change happened. So I had totally no energy and no clarity, and the more I accepted that, a little bit of energy would come that I could do something with. And if I would then say, oh, later, if that energy will become more, it left. But if I could stay with what there was, I could enjoy that moment. So step by step, I learned that it was about being in the now, accepting what it is, how I'm doing, that if I could be with that and then follow my heart, there would be energy enough. And if I started to go into the mind or wish something that was not there, that it would drop away. So it was a lesson with stepping forward, falling down, getting up again. But after some time, 10 years, I could say, okay, I get it. I understand. I get it. If I stay on track, if I stay connected to my purpose, if I stay really appreciating the now, it doesn't mean that I don't think forward, because I'm really a strategic connector, always looking far ahead as well, but from here. And as soon as I let that go, that still is, my body stops me, and it has very creative ways of stopping me. There's no way my mind can overcome that. Stopping is stopping. Because I have a very creative capacity to also, redefine things and say, maybe it's this or that. There's a challenge I have a huge amount of resources, I would say, coming in all kinds of other ways, then the resources for money is not always there. It's there and then it's gone, and then it's there and then it's gone. It's a bit, it's not so consistent. And it doesn't so much take me off track, but it does, I have to then find ways of taking smaller steps than that I might wish to take. But, I guess because of that stop that I immediately get, and I know what that means, by experience, I'm highly motivated to stay on track. And even if it's not knowing what to do next. So I have also learned through that practice, I would say, to be in the not knowing. And I can hold that for quite a long time, because I know if I take a step too quick, my body will stop me. And it's not only my body, it's also my soul that just wants to do what I'm here to do. Sometimes difficult to hear what your heart is telling you, because we have so many ways to get distracted. And I guess one of the ways is letting go of all the things that you were taught. It should be like this, it should be like this, it should be like this. To hold that, to say, okay, that might be so, and what if it's not? And so the what if, and then from the positive, that's what if it's true? Before I started to realize there's so much more in the invisible that we don't see, when I've met people that were saying something about that, I was just saying, well, what if it's true? And then something can open up. And so you don't always have to agree or believe it. But if you're curious, if you feel some curiosity or you feel something coming, and you can just say, what if, let me explore, there's always a choice that you can make again if it's not the right choice. So that's something, that curiosity, the what if it's true, are things that really help me to figure out what's distracting me and what's keeping me there, and to ask advice, to find people or ways of, can not only need to be people, can also be coincidences. I guess my experience is that the more synchronicity and serendipity happens, the more you're probably on track. So if things suddenly come up, you say, how's that possible? That's usually a good sign. There might be people, I know there are people that also think I'm crazy, or people that can't see the red thread. They see, I do a lot of different things, but for me they're all one. Because I'm following the energy. I'm seeing where I can co-create towards something that is about a world that works for all, about where love is at the center, where we are really following our hearts. All of us can do that. So it might look as all kinds of different projects, all kinds of different networks. Oh, another one. Well, underlying it, it's all the same. So I know some people, get kind of like confused with the many things. But I hope they can see that I'm thriving and that it helps me in that way also to touch the hearts of others, and that it brings joy, especially joy in the people close to me, my husband, my children, my family, and ripples out like that, and that it works, that we're stepping towards this world that can be heart-centered. If the majority of the people were living their purpose, what would the world look like? I think there would be much more light. It's not always that it's easy, but there would be much more light. Because also when we're living our purpose, we get huge challenges. And shadow shows up and things don't go perhaps as they are supposed to go or whatever. So it's not like it's all easy flow. and there can be pain, but the pain lets us feel the life force. So there is, and if it's coming from a place of trust and truthfulness, then also that kind of pain can still give a joyous impulse somehow. So I think if more people were able to live their purpose, that would be much more the resonant field. That we would be, even if there is pain or challenges or whatever, that there is something that is still nourishing for us, nourishing for all, actually. And I think I'm sure, now I'm experiencing often when we're really on track, and if we're with a group, like we're here, things come more easy, challenges get solved more easy, things like that. So that could happen, and I presume we'll get more complex challenges to face then, but then still we can be there for each other. And I think also it would, if we connect as humans more to our purpose, the way that I see purpose, it's connected and regenerative by nature. So if I live my purpose, I'm playing my part in the whole web of life, and that is serving the web of life. And so I think if more people are doing that, we would have a much more regenerative culture around us that would let nature thrive, let us go so differently around with animals, with the plants, with the nature spirits, with anything. So I think the whole earth would be much more in a loving space, able to, or for us to feel that love. I think, I don't know. I mean, life and death are, of course, so connected. So, of course, death and saying goodbye, that's all part of it. But if I think of the death of my parents, for example, it's the heart that really opens up. So there's more of that available. And we would come up with systems and structures and ways to govern ourselves and to organize ourselves that are really in service and not against things. Well, I think we all have our unique roles to play, and that's not only people, but that's also animals, nature, places, anything we make, everything we build, cities. Cities are living systems in which we come together, and we all have something to contribute. So I think this, even if we call it purpose, but purpose might be too big for some people, but to find a way that you can contribute that feels nourishing for you, I think that's part of what we see. If we really look at for example, the bees or the animal kingdom, you can always see that happening. And the systems and structures that come out of that, in which everybody is inherently, or all the cells in our body, they know what to do. I don't need to be telling it all. So how can we build these kind of systems and structures and governance systems that can really serve that? That's I think one of our big challenges, because these kinds of systems or structures are kind of like fixed. Yes, the consciousness is important, but also how we change those structures. That's what I'm really also curious about, how we can contribute to that also as the Holomovement. I don't know. I mean, life and death are, of course, so connected. So of course, death and saying goodbye, and that's all part of it. But if I think of the death of my parents, for example, it's the heart that really opens up. So there's more of that available. And we would come up with systems and structures and ways to govern ourselves and to organize ourselves that are really in service and not against things. Well, I think we all have our unique roles to play, and that's not only people, but that's also animals, nature, places, anything we make, everything we build, cities. Cities are living systems in which we come together, and we all have something to contribute. So I think this, even if we call it purpose, but purpose might be too big for some people, but to find a way that you can contribute that feels nourishing for you, I think that's part of what we see. If we really look at for example, the bees or the animal kingdom, you can always see that happening. And the systems and structures that come out of that, in which everybody is inherently, or all the cells in our body, they know what to do. I don't need to be telling it all. So how can we build these kind of systems and structures and governance systems that can really serve that? That's I think one of our big challenges, because these kinds of systems and structures are kind of like fixed. Yes, the consciousness is important, but also how we change those structures. That's what I'm really also curious about, how we can contribute to that also as the Holomovement.